Played the gear game.
Like, there's only 13 people. I thought there was 14 of us, so spending the numbers. Take it easy on this poor alien healer tonight.
Need a summon, Walter?
Nah, I'll get there by myself.
You're just that good.
He knows the way. Yeah, make sure you pick up shield generators. Sorry, sounded like a ghost for a second.
Hey y'all, it's your boy Fozzie back. We are doing SWTOR tonight. We are my ops group, Soldiers Are Light. We're teaming up with another one in the same guild, and we're going to be doing Scum and Villany 16-man mode. Should be fun, so sit back, relax, and have a good time. I think at this point we're just waiting, trying to getting. Anybody who's ever raided can tell you, getting 16 people together to do anything is not easy. But it's all good. We'll do our best. I don't think I have ever done this one on 16 man before. This should actually be quite interesting. And then depending on how long it takes us to get through this, we might do a couple of things afterwards. We'll just have to all wait and see. Y'all still there?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, just checking.
Alright, on our marks, get sets, go.
I love those sound effects.
And here we go. Time to launch out. So, recent news in Star Wars, I guess apparently the new expansion, they've announced it. I don't know when it's going to drop though. But I'm admittedly a little bit surprised. Simply because, I don't know, I just figured it would be longer because the time between the last one and this one was pretty freaking long. This just seems relatively shorter, so.
And our shields are down. And we walkies.
hit something. Slow down. Ah! No. That I have never done 16-man before, so it's going to be interesting to see. Oh, here's our rock.
Shield.
And see, that's why you stand with a rock behind you, so when he smacks you, you don't go flying off into Never Never Land. I'm getting my back right up to this thing. Because I really don't want to die. Right, so we're at 24. We're actually doing pretty good. I think we're doing 16 man. I don't think we're doing 16 man hard mode because that would be a little nuts.
Could you see your house?
No, not from there. We're not walking. We'll just finish him here.
Mouse walking.
Me out. I didn't want to finish him anyway.
And we're driving. We're driving. Ow. Oh, Bertouge, by the way. The beverage of the evening tonight is a grape cream slush from Sonic. Well, usually we partake of an adult alcoholic beverage, but got these. It's been a rough day, so this is my wife and I are quitting smoking, and this is like
Clear him out.
day 2, which admittedly is slightly better than day 1, but still is not joyous. Tell you what, don't ever start. It is hard to stop. I had a student once give a speech about it, and I never forget what she said. She said the price of starting is the pain of quitting. And I think she might have been onto something there. Because it is not easy. Alright, so let's just skiddly doo bop up here. That's a technical term, skiddly doo bop. You know, so many people I can't even see anything. I'm just like, oh, I'll just hit my AoE spells and we'll see what happens. Ah, robot.
Sorry about that.
All right, we're going. I almost said blame Thon, but he's not here.
Hmm?
If you're like, why, Foz, why are you standing still during that? It's because you can't do anything. You just have to take it. Now that you can move out the way. So this first thing, that's right.
Hey, Keone.
Hi.
Hey, the healers have the same rock. We all like ourselves.
See, defense sequence 2 is he throws a bunch of bombs and stuff. And then defense sequence 3, it's when he does that big blast and you gotta go hide behind a rock.
Just bring the ads under.
Yeah, he gets some brain.
A couple on me. I ran to you. Else made him mad.
Yeah. So I don't know how many times we've done this one. I don't think we've never done it before in 16, man. Not that I'm aware of. At least I haven't. So far, it doesn't appear to be that different than the regular version. Just more crap going on the screen, really. Get closer to my rock. Where'd he go?
Execute.
Well, that didn't appear to be too hard. Yeah, one thing I don't like is that the little light's here, but you got to click over here. I don't like that. That was confusing when I first started playing this game. It was like, wait, I can't figure out what I need to do. Dustclaw Alpha. I've always wondered who comes up with the names for all this. I mean, this is Star Wars, so they lucked out in that. Some of the stuff, Rancors, they already had names, but I don't remember there being no Dustclaw Alphas in any of the movies, even the prequels. There's so much. I always thought that I have my own, and I'm sure as many Star Wars fans do. I have my own idea of what I think they should have done with Disney's new, yeah, the 7, 8, 9 movies that they did with Star Wars. And honestly, I mean, I think the issue for me is the Rise of Skywalker, simply because a lot of people take issues with the Last Jedi, and I will defend the Last Jedi because I thought the Last Jedi had some definite problems, but I did think it was good. The problem with it is that it was a setup movie. The payoff for the Last Jedi should have come in the next film. Some of the new directions they took, some of the choices they made, the payoff for that needed to come in the next movie. And instead of paying those off, they basically just tried to undo everything that was in the Last Jedi. And so now that trilogy doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. And I hate to say that as a Star Wars fan, but it's very disjointed. And again, big part of it is because well, I think even what's his face, the guy that directed the first and third one, has admitted they didn't really have a full-blown plan. They kind of said, "Oh, we'll figure it out as we go," and that was a bad idea. That was a horrible idea. You see, I never understood that. See, I firmly believe that you could take The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and based on those two movies, I think you could have done a really good third film. I really do. But again, see, the point of The Last Jedi, the reason why, if you go back and you look at a lot of the fan reaction to The Empire Strikes Back when it came out, a lot of fans hated it. Absolutely hated it. But now it's, revered. Okay. Why is that? It's because the payoff was in the third film. Okay. The payoff was in the third film, and that's what they didn't do right in the new movies. They had, Force Awakens was basically just kind of Star Wars redone, which I kind of give J.J. Abrams a pass for because he kind of had to restart the series. Okay, I get that. And what I liked about The Last Jedi, and I give Rian Johnson credit for, is he was trying to take the series in a new direction, which it kind of needs. I mean, you just can't do the same things over and over and over again. You need to pay homage to its history, homage to where it comes from in a respectful way, but at the same time, let it evolve. Let it go into something different. And I firmly believe, if I'd been in charge, I would have done the third. I wouldn't have changed anything in The Force Awakens or in The Last Jedi. Keep those the same, but I firmly believe you can have a really good third movie. Keeping those two the same.
How did I get up here?
You just flew. I noticed that. I saw you flew.
I have my own idea, and at least the one I would have done. And I think a lot of what's in this game, I think, would have been excellent fodder for a third film. I mean, what I would have done is picked up, so let's just say, Randy's Rise of Skywalker. Here's what happens. All right, number one, the film opens with Princess Leia's funeral. All right, because Carrie Fisher died. I know that wasn't what they originally intended, but it opens with her funeral, and you have a full-blown, on-camera funeral for that character. And that funeral is attended. If you want to bring Lando Calrissian in, he's at the funeral. Now it makes a lot more sense for him to be involved because he came for Leia's funeral, right? So it opens with Leia's funeral. You do that. And then Ray has this whole thing about, she was. You could do what they did in The Last Jedi, where they have like a talk and it shows that she's training her, but then have her die then, and then there be a funeral, and so that the fans can really say goodbye to that character properly in the film. All right, so what happens from there? So, and then we break off into a couple of different groups.
Inventory boss.
Okay, so first group, we got to do something with Ray. All right, so here's what I think we do. Now, mind you, Mandalorian hasn't happened yet when this movie comes out. If it came out the same time that I'm putting it forth. All right, so what do? Okay, so you have Ray. Luke died in the second one. Leia died in the third one. She's supposed to be this Jedi. What the heck do I do? And so Luke comes to her. Luke's Force Ghost comes to her and tells her, you need training. And she's like, you said I didn't need it. And he goes, yes, but he says something to the effect of, but things are somewhat clear on this side of the Force. I see the bigger picture now and what had to happen. And, I couldn't train you because you have to blaze your own path, but you can't do that alone. You need to take us into the future. And so what does that mean? So what he tells her to do is to go back to Jakku. All right? She goes back to Jakku. And what I would have him explain is she goes back to, and he tells her to go to this place on Jakku where nobody goes, kind of like out in the middle of freaking nowhere, where nobody goes because it's all dangerous. And she's like, what? I can't go there. Why should I go there? That's insane. But he says, that's where you got to go. So she goes out there to the middle of nowhere, back on Jakku. And who should she find out there but Ahsoka Tano? That's where I would have brought Ahsoka Tano in. And she finds Ahsoka Tano out there, which then makes sense as to why the Force kept her on Jakku all those years. See, that's what I mean by you got to weave those threads together, okay? So, you have her meet Ahsoka Tano. You kind of recreate the scene, not to the same extent, where she came up and handed the thing to Luke and Luke tossed it. You come up and you kind of recreate that, her showing up saying, I need your help. And Ahsoka politely says, I can't. I can't train you. I'm not a Jedi. Because she's not. Remember, she left the Order. I don't think she ever completed her trials. And so she's technically not a Jedi. And she's like, you can stay here, as long as you need to. I understand, but I can't train you. And so at this point, Rey's just kind of, what the heck, all upset, not sure what's going to happen. And so then we go back into Ahsoka's little house, because what you're doing here is kind of emulating with Ahsoka what happened with Obi-Wan. Okay? Both out in the middle of nowhere, desert kind of thing. And so anyway, so you have her, Rey's just out there, she's with Chewbacca, maybe they're sleeping on the Millennium Falcon or just outside it or whatever. And so you cut to Ahsoka inside her little hut, her cabin or whatever. And she is then visited by the Force ghost of Anakin Skywalker. Okay, Force ghost of Anakin Skywalker. Played by Hayden Christensen. And she's like, well, they had a little reunion, kind of back and forth kind of deal. And she does, I can't do this. I never had a Padawan. I never was even a Jedi. And he's like, yes, you can. You're what she needs. Why do you think you stay here all these years? She's like, well, the Force just felt like it drew me here. Exactly. You were drawn here for this. This is why you're here. And, she still is hemming and hawing and like, I can't do it. And the climactic point of their meeting is he says something to the effect of, yes, you can. I believe in you, Snips. His nickname that he always called her, Snips. And it's with that she kind of gains her resolve. She goes back out, like wakes up Rey, and goes, "Are you sure you're ready for this?" She's like, "Yes." And then Osaka, because remember, Rey's lightsaber got destroyed at the end of the second movie. Remember, her and Kylo were both pulling at it, it blew up.
Pod bay doors.
Here's the genius in having Ahsoka do it. Remember, Ahsoka fought with 2 lightsabers. She's got one. Okay? Hold on just a second.
All teams, this is Ops. You've got your assignments. We're here to show the Hutts what we can do. So no room for screw-ups. Stick to your patrol zones, maintain contact, and keep your eyes open. Ops to all security teams, report in.
Mount up.
Gold team, all clear.
So basically, Ahsoka goes out, says, "Are you ready for this?" And then she tosses Rey one of her lightsabers, because remember, she fights with 2, and says, "We start in the morning." And Rey has found her new master. She's going to be taught by Ahsoka. Okay? So that's kind of track 1. So track 2, so we got to do something with Kylo. So what are we going to do with Kylo? So, somewhere edited into all this, what you have is you go to the First Order fleet. You go to Snoke's little throne chamber where he killed him, right? And he's destroying it. He, remember, so burn it down. He's literally burning the thing down. He has droids in there burning stuff down, tearing stuff apart. And in doing this, hidden under the throne or somewhere, he finds Snoke's personal library of like datacrons. Okay, datacrons from this game, they're like a Star Wars jump drive, essentially. Okay. And he finds it along with some books, and it's like, what the heck? Because one of the big things that never was really answered is, well, they did by saying, but stupidly, he was a clone, but we still don't know who the heck the Knights of Ren are. They never told us. And that was just a dumb answer. So we need to give Snoke an actual backstory. So Kylo finds Snoke's personal library while they're going through burning essentially his throne room, and he starts reading it. And he starts looking and reading the books. Okay, and you can cut back and forth between these, but then you get to a scene where you're basically in Kylo's office or something, and what's his face, the big bad guy of the First Order, comes in, and he talks to Kylo, and he's like, "Kylo, Lord, Lord Ren, what are we gonna do? Snoke's gone, but everything else." And Kylo basically says, "Forget him. He was a liar and a hypocrite. We all thought he was this great warrior, this great leader. Turns out he wasn't." He goes, "You know what he really was? He was a person who never won and fled for his life." And then basically what you find out is that Snoke was the leader or high priest because he was obviously old and kind of jacked up looking. He was a high priest during the Sith Empire of something called the Order of Ren. And what was the Order of Ren? The Order of Ren was a group of Sith Lords dedicated to studying the teachings of Darth Ren. Okay, who was Darth Ren? Darth Ren was an ancient Sith Lord who had a lot of mystical beliefs about the Force, including its ability to extend life. Okay, and having an ability to manipulate others' life forces and things like that. Okay, that it could do more than just what the Sith, were using it for. That it could literally be used to drain people's lives and extend one's own life. he's old school Sith, and this Order of Ren is basically a group of Sith who follow his teachings and study his beliefs. Okay, and what I would have done is, so now you've established, and so you've got, and so people, and so in this Order of Ren, you had the priests that studied it, but you also had their foot soldiers, the people who did the day-to-day stuff, and they are called the Knights of Ren. Okay, the general members of the Order of Ren were called the Knights of Ren. You were a Knight of Ren, hence the name. See, that makes sense. And what you would then, and you could explain this a lot better than I am, but so that's where he came from, and basically him and a small group of the Knights
Alright,
of
for
Ren.
the most part, I think
And hold on.
blues would be fine, except for that third row. I think we'll want to clear out at least
Give
one
me
of
just a
those
second.
artillery
Daughter.
droids. So first 2 tokens, clear out the first artillery droid on that third row. The rest of you take blues.
What's the position of the droid? On third row?
It's the third row, first position.
Okay, thanks.
Be sure to get the front line
Daughters.
row 1 and 2.
Okay, so
Those will be more work than anything.
so you have the Order of Ren
True.
with the head priest who is Snoke. Then you've got the followers, which are called the Knights of Ren.
But there are only one of them in each row, so it shouldn't be too
But their priority, yeah.
Yeah. They shouldn't be too bad, but yeah, you're right.
So, third in the first row, second in the first, second in the second, first in the third. A diagonal almost.
3, 2, 1.
Can you say that one more time? Which ones we're getting?
First row, third spot, second row, first spot in the third row. So it kind of works in reverse.
3, 2, 1.
Third is
Okay,
first, third is first, first is third.
gotcha.
3, 2, 1.
Who's on first?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Okay, so
Say that again. Just kidding.
I'll say it in reverse. 1, 2, 3. All right. Says we're ready. Jumping in.
You face it, your death.
Randy and Killeth.
Hope I picked the right one.
it's not, dang it, it's not letting me click nothing.
It's story mode, so it should be. Picking the wrong one won't be too bad. We're just trying to optimize.
Okay, so it won't hit me again. Okay, so
Trying to optimize.
so what you basically have Kylo explain is that
A little bit.
Snoke and a couple of the other high-ranking folks in the Knights of Ren were basically the only survivors of Darth Bane's purge. Okay, remember in Star Wars lore, at least in the old lore, Darth Bane was the one who introduced the rule of 2. Okay, he was the one that took the Sith from this big empire with lots of Sith down to just 2. Okay, he started this big purge, killed everybody. Him and actually Snoke had a fight, and Snoke lost. That's how his face got all jacked up. And so basically, then he fled, and
Go for the third.
Darth Bane thought he was dead, but him and a handful, let's say 4
You
or
still
5,
have one unused token.
other members of the
Yeah,
Order
it's
of
me
Ren
too.
survived
I
by
gotta put
going
mine.
into deep space, the area we never go into. So they go out there, they escape, they kind of set up shop and basically decide, all right, we are going to create another empire. We're going to create our own empire based on the
Down it
teachings of
has
Rand.
to go.
So they go out there and
So what you got over
slow, using their Sith powers, take over, start small, but they start building and building and
the blue?
do pretty well for
I
themselves.
need blue.
Okay, and start kind of kicking butt out there,
And then we're not
and
down.
then you have Kylo show hologram image of this spaceship. He goes until they hit these people, and whatever the spaceship is, you just need to make it have a very distinguishing mark, so that not something we've seen before. And basically, they hit these people, and they stopped them, and they couldn't neither side could defeat the other. They wound up in this gigantic stalemate. But in the battle with these people, it's basically where the other members who survived were killed, and so Snoke was the only one left. And he was like, all mad and whatnot. But when the Emperor was killed, Snoke felt this huge, pull, burst, whatever in the Force. It was like, what the heck? And that's when he started investigating. And out in the outer regions is where he found the first remnants of the Empire. That's where they fled. He came in, evil Force user, kind of took over and was building him to the First Order, with the idea being eventually he would take him back into, that he would conquer our area of space that we know from the movies, and then eventually, once he had conquered it and built up his military force, he'd go back out into the outer regions, and that species he'd conquer. That's kind of his backstory. So now we know who Snoke is. We know why his face was jacked up. We know who the Knights of Ren are. Now this all makes kind of sense, right? So you have that. Then you have your third thing, where you have, because now we got Rey plot going forward. We got Kylo's plot gone. What about Finn and the other dude? I forget his name. What's going to happen with them? Okay, so one thing we know is at the end of the last movie, the Resistance was pretty much blown to hell. Many of them left. So you address that. They have a meeting, and they're all kind of like, you go to them in a meeting, and they're like, okay, what are we going to do? Who are we going to go? How are we going to defeat the, this, that, and the other? And they're talking about this, and then you have a new character, say, basically something effective, sir, if you'd let me investigate my theory. And he tells them, I'll just call him Bob. He goes, Bob, shut up. I don't need your tales of fantasy. It's not fantasy. They ruled the galaxy. Bob, not now. But what this guy said, Poe, that's it. But Bob says really intrigues Poe and Finn. And so, after Bob walks out of the room dejected, they kind of pull him aside and going, hey, he goes, yeah, I know who you are. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, why? Are you going to make fun of me too? No, we want to know. And so, and the name of this species escapes me at the moment. But he says, well, I'm talking about I'll just call them the fish people, all right? Because their name. Now, who the fish people are is they're a character or an ancient race of Force users that are in this game. Their lore is told in this game, okay? And it's good lore. And basically, the thing is they were the most powerful empire ever. They predate the Galactic Empire, all that by several millennia, and they conquered the entire galaxy. And they were, like I said, Force users. They conquered the entire galaxy. Nobody could defeat them. But what happened was, basically, they wound up dying off because of a virus. Okay, that they couldn't get a cure for, and it killed them off. But they were
And do you
incredibly
reckon
powerful.
you've helped
And then, of course,
Peters with the
as they
units?
died off, as there became less and less of them, systems and whatnot within the galaxy were able to break away for independence.
Time to show my clients how it's done.
And that led to then them breaking up, but then also seeing happened with the Force. You then have that embedded in people now somewhat knowing about it, some places cultivating it. Then that leads us into the ancient time of the Jedi and whatnot. So, but his whole thing is he wants Bob's whole thing is he's been studying them his entire life, and he believes because there's been some ruins of the fish people recently found on this one planet, and Bob and it's not its home planet, it's just a temple or facility they had on another planet. But Bob wants to go and study it because he believes that if they could study these and he could somehow use the information to find the home world of these fish people, that there might be some kind of technology there that they could use to help them defeat the First Order. You know, the thing is, we don't have the numbers. The only way you're going to overcome numbers is tech. We need a new weapon. We need something. And so, basically, Finn and Poe were like, "Yeah, sounds like a good idea. All right, we'll go. You know, let's all get together and go do this." They go off to do that. And so that is your basic three lines: is you have Rey training with Ahsoka. You have Kylo finding out this backstory about Snoke that explains kind of some stuff that was stupid in the way they did it. And then you have this whole thing with the fish people. Again, they have a much better name. They're in the game. I just can't remember it. Okay, so how does this work? So, all right, so then you kind of cut back and you get an actual editor to cut this together to make more sense. But so then basically what happens with... Okay, so first off, let's go with Kylo. So he finds the secret library. By that, discovers Snoke's backstory. You know, realizes all this other stuff. And from this,
Nice.
he kind of gets this attitude of, what else haven't I been told? What has been denied to me?
Let's take a 5-minute break here.
Okay. What else has been
Sound good?
denied to me? What have I not been told? And, you know, what have these old orders of Jedi not shared with me?
Let's say
Because I,
39
remember,
minutes past
burn
the
it
hour.
down. He doesn't like
Back
these
up.
structures. He doesn't, he wants to burn it down. He's tired of all this stuff. And so he goes off on this, what else has been denied me? So that's kind of where he goes. It will be important later. But with that, I'm going to go take a quick break. But hang tight and I'll keep telling you the rest of my idea. I'll be back. right, so we're back. So we left off with Kylo wondering what's been denied him. All right, so then we go back to Rey and Ahsoka out in the middle of Jakku. Why does it need to be Jakku? That explains why she always will need to stay there. And you do some montages of her and Ahsoka training. And then, at some point Ahsoka says something to the effect of, all right, well, we're going to keep going. You need your own lightsaber. You can't use mine. Every Jedi has to fashion their own.
Seeing who's back.
So, we got to fashion your lightsaber. Well, to fashion that, we need, I think it's called a Colbert crystal, not a Colbert, K-bar. There's a crystal, like a saber crystal that you need. All right, like a Kyber crystal or something. So we need to go get one of those. And Rey's like, well, where do we get one? And she's like, well, we used to get them from
And
this
you need
planet.
a peanut butter,
Planet's also in the game.
Peanut butter and jelly and fluff club sandwich.
But,
3 slices of bread, peanut butter and jelly on one.
Peanut butter and fluff on the other.
The Empire kind of harvested all of them.
So,
So,
a piece of bread, put some peanut butter on it.
so
Yep.
that's not going to work.
Triangles, put some chips on the plate, club sandwich.
But I do know
Mitch Hedberg
where
would
there's
totally
a surplus. Because if you remember from Rogue One, the crystals. Let me wait till they're done. If you remember from Rogue One, the crystals.
Strawberry jelly.
Nope. That's not a star. It's not a peanut butter and jelly.
I was going to mute him. The crystals of that were used in lightsabers were used to power the laser on the Death Star. So, what happens? So, Ahsoka and Rey go to Endor. See, we're going to keep that part. To the wreckage of the Death Star. And, Ahsoka tells her the Empire harvested all of them to make the Death Star Death Beam. Those crystals are still here. We just got to find them. Well, so that then they land on the Death Star. And so then they're all like, we need to go find these things. Which Rey can do. Why? Because she's a salvage expert. Remember all that? All right. So they go around looking for these things. They split up. Rey eventually finds them. And tells her I found them, and they meet back. And they're like, all right, cool, let's go. And they're getting ready to go turn around, and the door opens. And there's Kylo and the Knights of Ren. Okay. Why is Kylo there? Well, we'll find out later. That, basically he's there because it's like, well, this is where the Emperor was. What knowledge is here that's been denied me? Okay? What is here that I was never told about? It's kind of why he's there. It just happened to be there at the same time. And so they have kind of a standoff. And basically, because there's going to be some people who don't know who Ahsoka is. And you maybe have explained it some. Having the part where Anakin's Force Ghost comes and talks to her. Okay? That's going to help. But we need to establish Ahsoka as the, badass Jedi Knight. This badass, even though she's not Jedi, the badass Jedi Knight that she is. Okay, well, how do we do that? So basically in this fight, Ahsoka takes on the Knights of Ren by herself. And Rey and Kylo fight. Alright?
Walk back.
You cut back between the two. And Knights of Ren by herself. Okay, hard fought fight, whatnot, but
Was it Crocus that had
that dual lightsaber wielding Twi'lek kills them all.
I thought we were
I
doing
think it's
surprise.
Twi'lek. I don't know.
Surprise!
She takes him out.
Been
And
a
that
while.
is kind of establishing her as this kick butt fighter for those that don't know her from the show. The same time Ahsoka is taking out all of them,
If you have ever watched
Rey
Kids in the Hall, they
and
had a bit
Kylo
of
fight.
surprise party at an office building. And a
And
woman
here's the big
organizing it. And the person
Rey
the surprise party was for was already
loses. I'm not
watched
saying she
that,
loses a
but-
Forgot
hand.
that show, man.
It
Okay.
was the great skit.
And actually, check that. Rey would be
Yeah,
fighting with
it's-
one of Ahsoka's lightsabers.
Like, surprise!
Okay.
Um,
And Ahsoka would just be wielding one of hers. But
I
Rey
watched a classic
loses.
TV show today. I watched an episode of The Addams
Right.
Family.
No, like I said,
Which one?
not saying she loses a hand. We've kind of
This
been
is when
there,
they
done
went
that.
on a trip to
But
watch the hurricane.
however you choreograph the fight, it's obvious by the end she lost. Like Kylo
Today
was like
because
got to a
I'm
point where
not
Kylo was
industrious
going to
enough,
kill
nor
her.
do I care to have to do all that effort.
You know, he had beaten her.
Got a bootleg copy of the regular show, all of the shorts,
And
all the
you know,
episodes.
Ahsoka basically steps in and saves her.
To get them all on DVD
Jumps down,
from various
force pushes
countries,
Kylo,
would cost me
grabs
well
her,
over
they
$300.
jump to their plane, fly off,
Then I
or
bought a
whatever.
bootleg copy for $35.
Right. So Rey now has like, I faced him and I lost.
Same thing with Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I already own the movie on Blu-ray.
So then you have
or
that. So
DVD,
then you
actually.
have.
But it's just all the episodes to get all the seasons, including the offshoots.
Hold on.
That would have been another like $200-$300.
So after they leave, you know,
Some of them
Kylo kind of observes the dead Knights of Ren, whatnot. But he's there to see in the ancient knowledge, and so he
No, I
feels
just
kind of
saw-
an
I
inkling in
just-
the Force.
it
He
was on
follows it,
TV, so.
goes to the Emperor's
Oh
throne.
no, Adam's Family. There was
Looks around, doesn't see
Prime Video
anything.
was
He's getting ready to
2-for-1
leave,
sale.
and then
They
the
had,
Emperor's Force
some great
ghost
TV,
appears.
series up there.
And this is how you get the Emperor tied in a
Unfortunately,
way
they
that's
did
not
have the
dumb.
opportunity. They did have Buck Rogers. though,
Because again, it's
including the movie.
established in other Star Wars stuff.
Well,
Chris,
I
Sith
can watch
can have
Buck
Force ghosts
Rogers
too. They're
on
all in
Saturday
this game,
nights
for
at
example.
11.
Sure.
On MeTV.
Hold on.
At 5 o'clock this morning, I was watching Buck Rogers. I'm halfway through season 2.
Nice. I watched a bunch for a while because they run it on MeTV and they started Addams Family now, so.
Sitting there with,
So
sitting
what
there with
happens?
a big bowl of cereal, like it was like morning cartoons all over again.
Force
They do
ghost
Saturday
appears
morning
to him and
cartoons
is like,
on the weekdays now on MeTV.
yeah,
All right, Peters, you want Sunder or?
and basically it's a whole,
Go
you
with
know,
the same that we always just remember everybody.
take me with
stay,
you, you
see
know,
that line in
merge my
front
spirit,
that goes
you'll
across
learn all that I know, I can
shortly.
guide you,
the narrow way.
you know, and
Stay up there.
yada yada. You know, basically he's trying to get Kylo to join
The line
him,
in front of me,
let him
you've
kind
gone
of
too far.
merge his spirit into Kylo's body, basically trying to tell you know, my spirit will be within you, and I
Yep,
can teach you and
exactly.
guide you,
This line is
kind of stuff.
This is a no-go zone.
Because he's kind of trapped there.
In between is a no man land.
After listening, Kylo just kind of tells him,
This line, no
F
further.
off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not going to
Can't
put
get in
myself in
tonight.
servitude to any other
All right,
You're not on the list.
master ever again. And the Force Ghost gets all mad, yells at him, and Kylo just, you know,
Oh come
Yes.
on! Did you AOE taunt?
I did not.
says step off and
I know better.
then leaves. But that's how you get the Emperor to make a little nice guest appearance and
I
not be
haven't even
stupid.
Done any of my taunts.
Alright. So then we go back to Finn and
Running,
Bob
running.
Poe. And so then they go to, they got 3PO with them and whatnot. And so they go to this planet where they have found these ruins
not
were
like
found.
Keanu right now.
And the problem is First Order's all over it. You know, they're all in the planet. And so then you got this, the kind of typical Star Wars that's in every one of the movies. The sneak around to find X, Y, or Z. Right? Get in, find it, whatnot. They go into the ruins, you know, and Bob knows his stuff. You know, he's done some study and he is able to decipher something that tells him where, or that leads him to believe this is where the planet is. This is where the home planet of the fish people are. You know, and they have to fight their way out. Yeah, kind of stuff you always see. Okay. And so, when they get there, find the coordinates, leave. Blah, blah, blah. Alright, so, you then cut over to
No, no one.
Oh, I
Rey
know this song.
Yup.
and Ahsoka.
You know I know that song.
And they've got the crystals, and you know Rey's kind of
Pinnacle of
rattled, but
80s
she's
music.
you know, Ahsoka calms her
Yeah.
down. It's like,
Well, you
come
know,
on, it's time.
that's
And fans finally get to see something we've wanted for years. We get to see a lightsaber built. Ahsoka kind of walks Rey through the process of building her lightsaber. And kind of like what they did in the original, in The Rise of Skywalker. Rey, and this, I mean, why they don't do this is was a brainer to me. Rey makes a double-bladed lightsaber, kind of like the one Darth Maul wielded, but you know, she's not a Sith Lord. Why does that make sense? Because she knows how to fight a staff. She carries around that staff all the time. So she makes a double-bladed lightsaber. Okay, and you can even talk, have some things, leading up to that when she's training with Ahsoka, where she'll, you know, try to do something with the sword. It's like I'm fighting against my instincts, because she wants to do she's fighting and she wants to do a smack with the back of it, but of course there's nothing there. Snorker just tells her to embrace it, and so she converts that staff she has to a double-bladed lightsaber. We see that happen. Alright, so then that happens. So you then get that scene. Alright, of them doing that. So, you then cut back over to and you can do a little bit more piecing this together, but here's the general idea. Alright, so then you piece back over to Poe, Finn, and Bob, following the coordinates, and they find it. They find the home planet of the fish people. And, they get there, and they find this, this gigantic building, and they go in and, trigger some of the defense mechanisms. Ancient droids and whatnot have to fight them a bit, and they're able to overcome them. And they're looking for some ancient tech, and one of the things they find, these are in the game, is they built these teleportation devices. Now they are in the game, you got these two things on pylons, and you stand in one and press a button, and it zaps you to the other one. Okay. And Poe and Finn realize this is it. Okay. Because if they can figure out a way to use these on what ships they have left, and not just teleport a person, but actually teleport a ship, that would give them a distinct advantage. Because the way, and remember, I was in the Marine Corps. How does a smaller force take on a bigger force and succeed? By taking advantage of the benefit of a smaller force, which is maneuverability. Alright? The way a small force takes on a bigger force and wins is through maneuverability. And this would hyperinflate that and allow them to take place. Alright, so they have the tech, they're trying to use it. Problem is they can't figure out how it works. Alright? They can't figure out how it works. And they're like, we come all this way, and then, Bob can't decipher it. And like, we have our, they know the things work because they've used them to walk around, to get around inside this big temple. I'll call it a temple. But they can't figure out how to do anything else with them. They can't figure out how to convert them because they can't read any of the language. And so, they found it and whatnot, but all looks lost. And they're like, I can't believe we've come all this way just to be sure. And then what happens? You have, hieroglyphics written all over the temple and whatnot. And you just see 3PO staring at him. Maybe his eyes go red or something. And then all of a sudden, 3PO starts talking real slow. Saying like, here lies the greatness of the fish people. And he begins to translate it. Now, why would that... So he finally gets his hero moment. Now, why would that work? How many times in the Star Wars series have we heard 3PO brag about he's fluent in over 3 billion forms of human communication? Honestly. We also know he was built by Anakin. So now you finally get, you know, like almost maybe the Force was involved a little bit. The Force foresaw this and tried to send and lined up some things to help make this part happen. So 3PO is able to decipher it. He finally gets it. The chicken of the entire series finally gets his hero moment. So they're able to decipher it. You know, he can tell them how it works. He can tell them how to take it apart, put it back. You know, using what he's translated, he can do all that stuff. They're like, cool, yay. Well, we've got to get the fleet here. So they send a message to the. Hold on, I want to make sure I don't get killed by the bridge boss. Yeah, that's the bridge boss. You can fall down one of those holes. It's kind of embarrassing. So they send a message to the fleet going, and at first they're like, no. He goes like, look, we found it. Come here. We can do this. This is what we can do. Come. And him and Hamba, they finally convince him to come. Problem is, either through a spy or decryption or whatever, Kylo, who's now gone back to the First Order intercepts it too. Now, this intrigues Kylo for multiple reasons. Number one, this is where the Resistance is. He knows they're going here, so they can go there and confront them. He knows they're bigger. But two, here's another source of Force knowledge that's been denied him. Motivation for him to want to go. So they take off. And because they're keyed into it, Rey and Ahsoka, they're keyed into the comm channel, hear this as well. So they take off for the same place. So then you get to the planet, and the Alliance, the Resistance has gotten there. You have a reunion between Faye and she introduces Ahsoka to Finn and them. You know, and you know, they present the technology and what it can do, how they think it can work. And plan seems solid, but here's the deal. The technology is powered by an energy field that's around the planet, right? And only extends so far out around the planet. You take it past then, it doesn't work anymore. Okay, it has to be within the energy field. Okay, and so in order for this to work, there's got to be kind of replicating what we saw in Return of the Jedi. The Resistance has to break their army into two forces. There's got to be an air force to actually go after the. They know that, not knowing that they're coming, but they know they got to draw the First Order to here. And there's got to be an air fleet that takes on the First Order fleet, but there's also got to be a ground force to protect the temple where the power source is. Okay, because or else the Empire just come down, take it over, turn it off, or whatever. Okay. Right. So they get to be this thing who can take on the ground force, and Ahsoka steps up, volunteers to do it. Now I have mixed feelings that you could stand up and have Ahsoka do it, or the other thing I thought that maybe this is a better route to go is you have Finn do it. Finn's like, I'll command the ground forces. I'm the best person. You know, I was a stormtrooper. I know their combat techniques. You know, because of his background as stormtrooper, he was the best one. You know, he knows their techniques and everything. He's the best one to do it. Okay. Ahsoka and Rey offer to come down, you know, and help out. Ground forces. And then, but as far as commanding the fleet, that responsibility, Poe steps up to do that. All right, and you have a scene with I forget his name, but he's in the Star Wars books, the three that they came out with that follow after Return of the Jedi. He's a kid in those books, but he is an adult in The Force Awakens. He's the actor who was in the TV show Heroes that's in it. And Finn's like, no, you're going to take charge of the fighters. I got to command the fleet. And he's like, but we need you. He's like, they need me more. Okay. And so basically kind of showing he kind of has learned some of the lessons about the bigger picture and not being a hot rod that Leia was trying to get across to him in The Last Jedi. So, they start doing and making things. So one of the things they need, so what the idea is they're going to take a bunch of these things and they're going to sync them to teleport to a single one. Like one's going to be the main one. So you have like 21 of these, 20 of them all teleport to where the one is. So they need some ship though to put that one in to basically fly around. And because the idea being is that, they're here, the Empire fleet comes over, and then they zip up here and shoot them, and then the Empire's got to turn around, and they come up to do this, and then they zip down here. But there's got to be a ship flying around to help them do that. Well, what ship's going to do that? The Millennium Falcon. All right. Why? Well, if you see these things, the way they work is they got a platform and then a big stick, a big metal pole that comes up, and they spin the field around it. Why is that going to work on the Millennium Falcon? Hold on, I gotta beat this person. Well, remember, with the Millennium Falcon, it has those gun turrets on the top and bottom of the ship. And there's that staircase that goes right through the ship. Well, that's right where the pipe will go. Okay, and it's going to be flown by Chewbacca and Lando Calrissian. Number one, you get them involved in the battle in a way that makes sense. Unlike, because it's the best ship for it, because it's fast as heck. And remember, they're going to be, in order for it to work, they're going to have to take the guns off the top and the bottom. So you're going to be basically flying this thing around with no guns. So it's going to take a really fast ship. Millennium Falcon, fastest ship in the galaxy. So it works. And it's got that way to accommodate it. And it gets them involved in the battle in a way that makes sense. The idea is fleet's over here. Millennium Falcon's will be the one flying around to these different parts. And then as soon as it gets set, as soon as the Empire gets kind of organized to blast them in one way, they'll teleport to the Falcon that's flown someplace else, and so on and so forth. Yep. Okay, well, their plans kind of get verschmuckered when they detect the First Order approaching. So this guy's to get kicked off quicker than normal. So they start doing it, get it all, Alright, so the First Order shows up, and then you have your big final battle, alright, where you have your space battle and you have your grand battle. And, in my head, you have a scene where Finn, he wishes the guy leading the fighters, best of luck. He has the utmost confidence in them. It goes up to the command deck of the capital ship, and like right before he walks through the doors to take command for the battle, he like looks down at his hand and he's got Leia's hair comb in it, and then kind of holds it, closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, and then goes in. So then the battle happens, blah blah, fighty McFighty, shooty McShooty, and you have some tension built up. Maybe it takes so many minutes. It takes maybe longer than normal for the things to power up than they thought it would, but things like that. So that's going to happen. At the same time that then the First Order launches a ground attack, and Finn, you know, is commanding that, and Ahsoka and her helping out. But then Kylo comes down by himself. Why? Because he wants to go in this temple his own self, see what's been denied him. And they sense him helping him land, and Ahsoka looks over to Rey and says, "You have to go and face him. Okay, I'm needed here. You have to go face him." And she's originally like, I can't. He's better than me. And she's like, no, he's not. You know, and she starts going this, I can't. I'm a nobody. My parents were nobodies. He's Darth Vader's grandson. How am I supposed to defeat him? Ooh, that's different. Oh. I can't take him. I'm a nobody. Rey's like, have faith in yourself, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then Ahsoka looks at him and goes, you've heard of Darth Vader, right? Yeah, he may be Darth Vader's son or grandson, but you've heard about Darth Vader. You heard how he had to live in that suit. Hold on. You know, he had to live in that suit. You know who put him in that suit? A guy by the name of Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the best, most noble Jedis I ever knew. And you know who his parents were? Tailors on Coruscant. Basically, by saying Obi-Wan Kenobi's parents were nobodies. And yet he was such a powerful Jedi, he's the one that put Darth Vader in that suit. You can do this. And so she goes off and fights him. And you could do this about better, but. And so she goes off and fights him. Ahsoka, they are able to hold him off, blah, blah, blah. So basically, you have the space battle, you have the ground battle, and then you have the duel. All right. Long story short, Finn is able to hold off the stormtroopers. Rey kills Kylo. All right. There's this idea that he's had multiple chances to be redeemed. She tried in the first movie. She tried in the second one. She tries again in the third. Nope. She beats him, kills him. Space battle. They wind up winning it. Now, one thing you could do in this space battle, and this will be controversial. Okay, so you have the Millennium Falcon being piloted by Lando and Chewbacca flying around, thing flying. This, that, and the other happens. But at one point in the battle, despite everything, the Empire's kind of getting the upper hand, and they determine what they've got to do is take out the big command ship. That you kind of see in The Last Skywalker, The Rise of Skywalker. And they're trying to, but they just can't get through. And Han and Chewie look at each other. And they start flipping things, getting the Millennium Falcon up to full speed. And basically say, be prepared, we got this. And then they fly straight towards the command deck of the capital ship. Dodging things. What they hit a couple times, Falcon starts smoking and whatnot, but they're flying, zipping, doing, coming right at it. And then they punch it, go as fast as they can towards the command deck. Lando looks up at the dice, smiles and says, "See you soon, buddy." And Chewbacca lets out a big rah as they ram the Millennium Falcon into the command deck of the capital ship, effectively, killing off. Yes, killing Lando and Chewbacca, destroying the ship, but taking out the command ship allows them to win the battle. You don't have to do that, but you could throw that in there. Why you might? Because why you might want to do it is that gives you an end to the last two primary characters who need an end from the original trilogy. Chewbacca and Lando sacrificed themselves to save the Resistance. It's an honorable death for them. All right. So, yay, woo, we won, yippee-ki-yay. Now, here's the thing. You gonna do a summons to the chicken? Okay. So, Space Battle wins all this stuff. They're celebrating, woo ha yay, but then you pan back, you pan out from the battle, and and then what you see, kind of in observing the battle from afar, is you see a ship decloak, and although it's not exactly the same, close enough resembles the ship that Kylo showed the hologram of, the ones that fought Snoke to a draw. It's why it needs to have some kind of really distinct architectural feature. And it's them. They've been observing the battle, and all you see, they decloak, turn, fly off. That's it. Because there's your key to the next trilogy. So they get together, okay, and that's all you have. That's your teaser for the next three, and I'll tell you where I'd go. So you have your standard end of the trilogy, everybody's happy, yay. Rey and Ahsoka are talking, and Rey's like, there's more out there like us. We need to help them. We need to find them. And again, Ahsoka's like, but I'm not a Jedi. And quite frankly, neither are you. And Rey kind of like, yeah, that's okay. Somebody needs to guide them. And Ahsoka's like, I can't recreate the Jedi Order. And Rey's like, well, I don't want to. Kind of like, if we're going to do this, we need to do it our way. And so then what do? You have that kind of scene where they basically agree they're going to start something, but it's not going to be what the Jedi were. So then you cut to the last scene of the movie. So, what happens after that? You cut to, remember the boy who was shown to be Force sensitive at the end of The Last Jedi? You cut back to him, in the stable wherever he's working, and a ship lands. And two figures walk out of the ship. They look like Jedi, but instead of their robes being shades of brown, they're shades of gray. You know, and they take the hoods off, and it's Ahsoka and Rey. And take the hoods off, it's Rey. They walk up to the boy. Rey kind of kneels down in front of him, being very nice, and she's like, "Hi, my name's Rey. What's your name?" You know, they do the talky thing. She's like, "So, can you do things? Have you able to move stuff?" And he's very timid and whatnot. And she finally asks him, like, "Can you raise this?" And he does. You know, that he's showing that, yep, he has the Force. So he's like, "So am I in trouble?" She goes, "No, you're not in trouble. You know, what's going to happen to me?" And she goes, "Well, you're going to come with us." And that time, because you know he's a slave, his owner walks in. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "We've come for this boy. You know, he can wield the Force, and we're here to train him. He's coming with us." And the owner basically is like, "No, you're not, blah, 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 blah." At what point Ahsoka looks at him, gently but forcefully uses the Force to push him against a wall, pulls out a lightsaber, cracks it, putting the blade right up to his throat. She goes, "Let me be clear, sir. We are taking him. Please." See, that's something a Jedi would never do. But they're not going to be the Jedi. And then the boy says, "Are you something like, wait, are you Jedi?" And Rey says, "No, we are not Jedi. We honor their legacy and seek to continue their mission of providing peace and hope to the galaxy. Our order reveres them and respects them, but we are altogether something different." And he says, "Then what are you?" And Rey and Ahsoka look at each other, and she looks back and goes, "We're Skywalkers." Da-dun, 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 da-dun. And that's the name. You know, they have chosen the name Skywalkers to be the name of their order. That's going to take what the Jedi taught them, but change it some. Be more of what Luke was talking about in The Last Jedi, a mix of light. You know, that there's not light. Remember, Luke in The Last Jedi was like, "There's no light, there's no dark, it just is." And that's kind of their philosophy. So instead of being, Jedi Master Kenobi, you'd be, Skywalker Kenobi. That would be their name. Okay. So that's what then you have your shredded. So that's what I would do. And, I could probably explain. I thought about making a YouTube video where I lay out the plot a lot more succinctly. But what about the ship? So what I would then have is that set you up for the next one, your next trilogy. Okay. And what is the point of the next trilogy? Well, it is the invasion of our Star Wars galaxy by the Chiss. If you're unfamiliar with the Chiss, oh no. Jeez, how much more stuff do I gotta pitch? Okay, so here are the Chiss. If you're familiar with Grand Admiral Thrawn, his people are the Chiss. They're the ones that fought Snoke and the Knights of Ren to a draw in the outer limits of space. In deep space. They're the ones that fought him to a draw. Now, why would that be cool? Well, one of the things we've learned about the Chiss through the books, and this is the reason we can have them be the ones that were able to fight Snoke and them to a draw, is the Chiss are force resistant. There's this whole backstory where in their society they don't really have people with the force. It's as rare as it is in the regular galaxy, it's like 100 times rarer in the Chiss, and even those that wind up having the force wind up losing. All right, give me a second. All right, thanks everybody. See you next week. So I was saying about the Chiss is, and those even that wind up somehow getting the ability to wield the force, it fades over time. There's this whole thing where, and if men get it, they basically kill the males who get it as kids, because when they go crazy later on in life, it drives them nuts, and they can kill a bunch of people. Whereas the females, when they lose it, are more docile. And so that becomes your next trilogy, is this whole thing with the Chiss invasion. Now, why does that work? Well, number one, because the way you ended that movie, if you want to do that next three, depending on how far in the future you set it, you don't have to recast people. All you'd have to do, you set it so many years in the future, you could have the central character be that boy who's grown up and just recast, have it be that by that time Ray and them have passed away. This is their legacy, so on and so forth. So, and two, it sets up a unique paradigm difference in that a big subplot of all the Star Wars movies is learning about the power of the Force. Well, you wind up getting them now fighting the Chiss, where Force doesn't do as much, if anything. So now you've got to learn about its limits. What is the limits of the Force? And that also sets up a nice counter, because one of the big things, the key factor, the single biggest issue the Jedi have, and Luke talks about this, is hubris. This idea that we know what's in the Force. Well, what better way to keep that from happening again than the first major conflict, major conflict that this new order has to really deal with and help guide the galaxy through, is it gets a bunch of people that the Force doesn't work on. So anyway, that's what I would have done. Oh, and if you're wondering, well, how could Ahsoka, if Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan, how can she still be alive all these years later? How's that going to work? I mean, because she would have been, an Anakin, she'd have been grown up, and now, I mean, she was, basically like at 20s when she was Anakin's Padawan, and then you have their kids growing up, and now their kids, I mean, she'd be like 100 something years old. How's that going to work? Remember, she's not human. She's a Togrutan. That's the name of it, a Togrutan. And actually, there's very little official Star Wars lore about the Togrutan. So, having it explained that their average lifespan is 250 years And yeah, she's like 90, but that's the equivalent of like 50 in human years. Is easy to do. So anyway, that's what I would have done. So that is our stream for tonight involving Star Wars: The Old Republic. I know I talked for a lot of it, but I hope you enjoyed it. So every Monday night, I tend to do Star Wars, other things at other times. So I hope you enjoyed yourself. Please come back again and take care. And I'll see you next week. Have a good one.